Hi, this is Jeff White with Life and Living Now and Versatile Fighting Arts. And I wanted to make a just kind of a quick video. This is a companion to the piece that I wrote um, on the five elements, sent out yesterday and posted on the Substack. And the health qigong that I practice that I share is a five element qigong, which I also describe as five internal organ qigong because each of the internal organs is traditionally associated with one of the five elements. Um, in Chinese qigong, they kind of map everything in the universe to fit into one or more of the five elements, and the elements are going to be metal, water, wood, fire, and earth, and they represent functions and systems and things like that. So the elements are best understood as kind of representations, I guess is the better way, of a larger systemic function, rather than isolated references to individual organs. The perspective treats the body kind of as an integrated whole in which every system kind of influences the other. So everything affects everything else. And that's how we approach Qigong. That's how I see life. And so for me, it's kind of a natural generalization and extrapolation of principles as we look at the five internal organs, the five elements, and as we look at life as a whole. So, within traditional Chinese medicine, the five elements describe patterns of relationships and movements throughout nature and the body. The metal, water, wood, fire, and earth. In this framework, metal is associated with the lungs and as well as the large intestine. Each of the organs is paired with two meridians, a yin meridian and a yang meridian. And for the lungs, then it's the lung meridian and the large intestine meridian. Um, you will have water with being kidneys and bladder, wood um, with the liver and the gallbladder meridians, and fire as with the heart, pericardium, small intestine, triple burner, and earth along the spleen and stomach meridians. Traditional Chinese medicine uses the five elements to describe relationships among the body with emotions and seasons in the natural world. My use of this model is intentionally practical, is probably the best way of looking at that. Rather than trying to apply the entire cosmological framework, I focus on awareness, intention, and appreciation for each organ while recognizing that the benefits may extend throughout the whole person. I also include awareness of the parameridians, which helps practitioners sense, guide, and direct energy more clearly during practice. So, in traditional Chinese medicine, in TCM, the lung is associated with the lung meridian and is also paired with the large intestine. Now, large intestine meridian, excuse me, one way to understand the relationship of the lungs receive fresh energy through the breath, while the large intestine supports the release of waste. So the lung is also described as a leading organ system because it brings in new breath, new vitality, and circulation into the body. So you can see there is a yin and yang, there's the intake and the release. Through the lungs, we draw in breath. We draw in vitality, what many traditions call life force energy. The deeper and more expansive the breath, the more fully we can support the body's natural sense of energy and presence. In Qigong practice, this is cultivated through deep diaphragmatic breathing, mindful expansion within the chest, and the intention of gathering fresh energy. The practitioners may visualize the breath as clear white light when entering the lungs, which is what I do. Some may even view a golden light. And everybody kind of processes visualization a little bit differently. We talk about this when working with the chi balls and chi energy in our minds. That some kind of feel it more, they do better visualizing more water, some more electricity, some more something more fluid. This is up to you because we're using that as an illustration in the mind, some way to picture it as an anchor for the actual process. It's not the process in itself. It's how we're made. We are creative beings and we use vision and illustrations within ourselves, symbols in order to enact and to call forth certain thoughts and energy. So, um, with that, so when I am inhaling in and during my lung qigong, or even at times in my meditation, or times I'll focus on the different internal organs, and what I do is I'm breathing in, I want to bring in this very clear white light that's entering the lungs and moving through the lung meridians towards the extremities. In the TCM language, strengthening the lung qi is also associated with supporting Wei qi, or the protective energy that helps immune our body. And Wei qi is kind of what repels from skin level out. Um, so whenever you breathe in, and as you inhale, you just think that I'm breathing in energy. All right, not just air. We do that all the time, but I'm breathing in energy into my already energetic being. And that's an important trans- transformative thought process, is that when I go from just taking my breath for granted to breathing, but also breathing in consciously energy and into a system of being that's already energetic. Now, the respiratory function of the lungs is, of course, fundamental to life. Without the continual exchange of breath, fresh air, and vital energy, you know, well, without the continuous exchange of air, vital energy doesn't enter into the body. So, for this reason, the quality of the breath directly influences the quality of our vitality, the quality of our clarity, and overall functioning. So, we want to make sure that we're breathing properly, that we're filling the lungs fully with air. And I discovered this many years ago when I used to do a lot of long distance running. And I would be kind of getting in that groove. I was never fast, I was never an elite runner. I was just steady. And I noticed that at times when I would run, I would only breathe to about half, maybe two-thirds of my lungs. And when I would purposely take a good inhale of air to fill the lower lobes of my lungs, I could feel the difference in the energy. And I can actually feel my lungs, expand in ways that I hadn't before. And so that was instructive to me. And so I took that back into my meditative practice at the time. And then as I got more into Qigong, I brought that into my Qigong practice. And it was very easy to see this deep diaphragmatic breathing, filling the lungs with clear, clean energy, air was vitally important. So that's part of what we want to be able to do, is we want to look at what's the function, the structure of our lungs. Are we breathing deeply? All right. Are we fully utilizing our lungs? And we do this these just going through our day with our Qigong breathing, deep diaphragmatic breathing, staying calm. We use our breath and our lungs as tools, not just as something we don't think about. Uh, so now, other traditions, as in the Vedic traditions, they also view breath as central to deeper living. The term prana refers to vital energy, and that's within all the Vedic literature. It's the vital energy that animates life. Those traditions describe energy channels, or nadis, along with chakras that run through and open along the center body. And while the terminology differs from Qigong and the philosophical parts of it are somewhat similar, they do share some uh, common thoughts and threads, in that the body is electric, the body is energetic, and we're bringing energy in. And we're using the breath to do that. So both systems invite us to bring awareness to our breath. They invite us to bring awareness of our energy and our internal alignment, and we want to do that. This is what we're doing in Qigong. So the company, now when I posted um, on to when I sent out the writing and I posted on the Substack, I had a couple of charts that show what the lung meridian would look like, as it travels. And when you're looking at acupuncture meridians and lines and maps, what you see um, on these is what is available for needling. So for in terms of acupuncture, they'll show the kind of lines and the meridians and all the your body is constructed with these pairs of meridians on each side of the body, and many of them originate or terminate in the hands, some at the feet, some at the eyes, and they run through the body. And when you look at a really good acupuncture map, you'll see it like dotted lines where it shows going down into the core of the body and linking with the large intestine, say with the lung meridian and things like that. But when you look at just a regular acupuncture map, they don't show those. So it is important that you kind of recognize that the lines that we attribute to lung meridian, especially in this case, lung meridian, actually originate much deeper and descend into the lower intestines. It comes up around the lungs, comes up, and then as it runs through in the lung one, the part that the acupuncturist can actually begin to needle kind of starts right here. So, um, when you see it kind of starts here at the kind of the shoulder, you have that little depression, you can kind of feel it in here, and it runs up and then comes down kind of along the bicep, not the center line, a little bit off to the outside, kind of running and runs along the top here, you can kind of see, and then runs to the thumb. All right, kind of may show it a little bit better on this side. It starts and then runs down and comes along to the thumb, and it terminates at the thumb. All right, and the large intestine meridian originates in thumb and comes up. But let's kind of just look at um, you know kind of as we mentally trace this line. Now, in the past, in our practices, in our classes, uh, I have not focused a whole lot on theory and the philosophy behind it because I wanted you to feel. I wanted you just to go into the practice, just knowing all I need to do is breathe deeply. And as I move my hands with mindfulness, I'm connecting with my energy in my body. And most all of you have come to me and said, yes, you can feel this in the hands and the arms and the body. And some of you have expressed how you felt things differently, and that's good. Now it's a time we can start adding a little bit more of the education, the deeper side of it. And you can roll with this or not. All right. Um, I find the deeper we go, the more beneficial it is, but you may be happy on just the stress reliefs and the harmony that you feel with our general just breathe, deep breathing. Perfectly fine. This is your practice. For those that may want to go deeper, and then I tend to trace this. All right. So I will trace the meridians um, as I in my meditation practice or my standing practice. So the lung meridian, as I said, originates deep within the torso. It travels upwards in the lung region, kind of comes up, emerges near the shoulder, then follows the arm down to the thumb. All right. The lung meridian is especially important in this practice because it's connected with breath, it's connected with immune support, regulation of energy and chi, emotional processing. Particularly in the experiences of grief and sadness is what the lung is credited with. Now, as noted above, each organ system is paired with the yin and yang meridians. The lungs are associated with the lung meridian, the large intestine meridian, as we mentioned earlier. Now, I also included a chart on the large intestine as well. The large intestine meridian begins at the index finger, travels up the outer portion of the arm, and kind of does a little jock around the elbow. Um, and then as it outer portion it crosses the shoulder and continues. And this we have the sternocleidomastoid right here. So it comes up and comes across the face and up over this way. And each side does that. So then the other side, of course, comes in and picks up off the index finger and comes up along the side and comes across and comes up along the face. It hits along the shoulder and then comes up. And so you can reference um, the charts for those of you who have access to those as well. If not, then I would suggest kind of getting you can Google acupuncture maps and quite easily and be able to see what's there. All right. Although the visible pathways, large intestine, is commonly shown with the arm, shoulder, neck, and face. TCM also describes internal branches, same thing as with the lungs, and these branches connect inwardly within the abdominal cavity, the large intestine, and the stomach. So the illustration that I sent supports this discussion by giving a practical map for tracing the external pathways while remembering that the channel is understood as part of a larger functional network. Now, throughout this internal connection, stimulation or awareness of points along the extremities, such as large intestine 4 in the hand, is traditionally understood to influence the channel's broader digestive and clearing functions. So that's why we want to begin, or we can begin to focus our awareness on these meridian lines, leading our awareness is probably a better way to put that, leading our awareness along those lines. All right. And in TCM, the meridians are kind of functional maps rather than strictly anatomical lines. They describe patterns of relationship and communications within the body. The large intestine meridian belongs to a layer which is traditionally associated with abundant qi and blood, and points along this channel are often discussed in relation to clearing and releasing and regulating movement, through the body. The large intestine channels terminates besides the nose and also passes through the lower gum area. So in TCM, the upper and lower pathways are often understood as reflecting and influencing one another. It's one of the reasons why points on the face or hand may be used in traditional practice for issues involving the nose, mouth, face, or digestive tract. And, if you've ever had acupuncture, I had an issue where I wanted some treatment for my shoulder. So, they're sticking things in my knee and it all works. And it was this beautifully euphoric feeling that I also felt. So, when now moving forward, the large intestine is externally and internally paired with the lungs. Both belong to the metal element, and together they represent a complementary function of receiving what is clean and useful while releasing what is no longer needed. This pairing bridges respiration, elimination, boundaries, and refinement as well. All right. So, with this information in mind, then the practical question becomes how do we use it? And my approach is intentionally pragmatic. Um, if an explanation becomes too abstract or too complicated, I tend to set it aside and return to what can be practiced, what can be felt and applied in a useful way. It's not that I discount, it's just I will come back to it and I will dig deeper into it. And there are some things, like in TCM that, they want to fit the entire cosmological universe into these five elements and their understanding in it. And it works for them. I approach from a kind of a different mindset, and so I don't always see all the connections they have seen, and I'm okay with that. I have other ways and other things, principles that I tap into, but everybody's a little bit different. You may decide to go into this, and you may understand this, and it just aligns with your understanding perfectly. And in other cases, it may not, and that's fine. I tend to try and look at, I believe very strongly in Qigong. I believe very strongly in our energetic body, that we have an energetic sleeve, if you want to put it that way, that kind of corresponds, that's aside and different from the blood patterns and things that we see. Um, But I also understand that through the years and with science and research, we've come to understand that a lot of what we were attributing to more mystical sounded things, we're putting our awareness on areas of nerve plexus and stretching fascia and becoming more aware of our personal energetics and then being able to harness and use them within the body. And so there's a Western science that comes in and kind of corroborates with a lot of this, but not everything. And that's where I still go with the whole idea of meridians. There's not a lot of Western science evidence to this that's come out, but the anecdotal evidence, when you go to a good acupuncturist and they really know what they're doing, the results cannot be denied. And that makes me a believer with that. And that's initially on that's where I it kind of made me a believer. And the more that I got into doing the qigong, I would separate what I thought was kind of more mystical fiction, illustrations, things like that. Because remember, this has been going on for thousands of years, and not everybody had the access to knowledge and words to be able to explain what they were feeling. And so now we've kind of gone in and looked and gone deeper and deeper with it. So what I believe that we do now is that in this next step, we get quiet in our meditation or a qigong, and I don't try and do one inhale, one exhale with all this. I will just lead my mind as I inhale, kind of illuminating, becoming very aware of this line. And then maybe my exhale, I just let everything settle and I just put my mind on that meridian. I go to the next and I inhale. Now, sometimes when I first started doing this, I may come with an inhale and I seem to be blocked here. Then I just exhale. I don't trip. I inhale and I re engage and I lead the energy up again. Okay. So, um, in this way, I'm becoming more aware of the lines of my meridian and I'm listening, interoception. I'm listening into my body and I'm leading that energy. So this practice, that I teach is five element qigong. And often, as I mentioned earlier, I think of it more as five organ qigong because we place attention and intention directly onto the organs themselves. By cultivating awareness of the organs, then we can enrich the energy of those systems and in turn support the meridians associated with them. We already know as we're doing our small heavenly cycle that working with the governing channel and the conception channel, they actually fill and become aware and they feed into the other channels. But this is just an extra step to become more in tune with our body. All right. Um, so in previous practice, we focused primarily on the lungs during the lung flows. We brought attention to the lungs. We practiced the attitude of gratitude for their function. We imagined filling them deeply with bright white light. And now we can expand that practice by adding awareness of the meridian pathways shown in the illustrations, allowing the visual maps to kind of support our internal focus. So to do this, imagine connecting with the energy, beginning at the meridian and gently leading it through the channel to its endpoint. Then move to the next channel and repeat the process. Inhale, lead the energy. Don't push, lead the energy. All right. If you feel like it gets stuck or you lose that connection, just stop, exhale, inhale, come back, do it again. And at first, you may rely completely on imagination, and that's kind of how a lot of it starts with Qigong. But over time and as your sensitivity increases, then the practice can become a clearer experience of sensing and guiding internal energy. Now, it's important to lead the energy rather than push it. Pushing implies force and can create a muscular or mental resistance. Leading is softer. It assumes that the energy is already present and simply invites it to move through with relaxed awareness, breath, and intention. So begin by standing or sitting comfortably. Relax the body and the mind through deep diaphragmatic breathing. For the lung meridian, bring your awareness to the area near lung one at the crease of the shoulder. And then it's actually a little, here's the crease, it's actually down a little bit. But don't strain. to feel every point. Stay relaxed. All right. Stay patient. Stay attentive, but stay patient. Stay relaxed. Take your time. This practice does not need to be rushed at all. If you can trace the meridian in one breath, that's fantastic. If you need several breaths, that's fantastic. It's equally appropriate. The purpose is not performance, it is relaxed awareness. Let the visual line in the chart help guide your attention rather than trying to force sensations into a deeper internal branch. For the large intestine, begin at the index finger and follow the pathway up along the outer arm, up over the shoulder to the side of the nose. And with your awareness, gently lead energy along this line. And then imagine the channel being filled with fresh, clear vitality. Now, the value of this practice lies in the combination of, as always, of breath, awareness, intention, and gentle movement. Focusing on the lungs and the meridians can support the work of renewing of the mind, improving body awareness, and encouraging a calmer internal state. Deep diaphragmatic breathing may also help activate the parasympathetic nervous system, often described as the body's rest and digest mode. So, the gentle movements incorporated into the practice help mobilize the body. They encourage energetic flow and develop kinesthetic awareness. Practicing the skill of leading chi strengthens your ability to be sensitive and to sense your internal energetic system. Over time, this may help you guide, may help you build and sustain energy in ways that support health, steadiness, and calm. So, when you practice Qigong, bring your focus to the lungs. Breathe deeply and diaphragmatically. Imagine the lungs filling with bright white light. Feel the warmth and clarity of that light. Listen inwardly with gratitude for your lungs and all that they do for you. Same as with the large intestines. You may begin tracing the lung meridian, the large intestines, during your seated or standing meditation. And if this can be incorporated into your standing Qigong without becoming distracting, include it there as well. This would be in your personal practice. Personally, I often practice this separately as part of my meditation, as I mentioned earlier, but each practitioner will find the timing and approach that works best. So, we will continue to explore each of the five internal organs with the same intention. So, please let me know what questions you have and whether they may arise as you practice. And thank you. Have a wonderful day.